Welcome to the Family Dynamics Podcast.
You have to just be willing to talk about these things, and you have to be willing to put it all on the table.
Learn firsthand from the power couple who's built a healthy relationship, from major and minor issues,
The good, the bad, the ugly,
to triumphs of the family unit.
In this day and age, you need somebody by your side.
Utilize proven techniques and strategies to help your relationship and family thrive to the next level.
you have to compromise.
This is the Family Dynamics Podcast with Kevin and Alicia Meeks.
Hey, y'all, hey.
Welcome to another episode of the Family Dynamics Podcast. Once again, we're in our home studio, and I'm sitting next to my beautiful wife.
It's me, y'all, Alicia.
Yes. We back again, and we live. And today we had a topic, and it's about marriage mistakes. And on this podcast, we talk a lot about co-parenting, marriage, family, blended family, the issues, the adversities, the triumphs, and the wins that we have and we have had as a blended family. For some of us on this podcast, if you don't know, if you're new, my wife and I, we've been married for 7 years, 7 beautiful years, and we have 3 children. We have 2 in college and 1 at home. So we borderline empty nesters, and we're a blended family. I brought 2 kids to this marriage, and she brought a beautiful daughter to this marriage, and it has been a journey. Fun. So when you look at like marriage, when you look at marriage in its, if I had to give an analogy, or if I had to give what marriage is or what it looked like to me, it's like going to an amusement park and picking the highest roller coaster ride. And you hear that when you get on the ride, you hear that chicka, and you going up. Buckle up, right? So then you're on the ride, and then you get to the top, and that's the marriage, right? And then whoosh, you going whoosh. Whoosh. You're going down, right? The whoosh is, especially in a blended family, it's those things you didn't expect. And it's like whoosh, like, oh snap, I didn't expect that. And then you get to another spot where it's kind of like it's going back up. And those are the beauty, and that's the beautiful part of the marriage, where it's like in the blended familyness, like you see that you going up, and you like, man, this is dope, because you have a situation where you're bringing people into your life that, one, you're merging your life. There's things that you didn't see or things that you didn't experience, and now you're bringing your experiences all together. And then it's just a constant up and down, ebbs and flows, twists and turns. And I've had some great times as a blended family. Yeah. Like I've had some great times as a blended family, like, because it's so much, like I've learned a lot. Like I've learned a lot. And there are some mistakes that I know personally that I have made as coming into this situation naturally.
Me too. I agree with you 1,000%.
You got to think, like, if you have a family, already a family that you're building together, like, that's rough enough. So now you take the family where, like, you had a whole different life before me. I had a whole different life. And the way you and your daughter was building before us, like that, like you have to almost like compromise with your whole life.
But I mean, and vice versa, you did too. You had your way of how you was raising the boys, and the way you was living your life before us. So I think it was just change all around.
Yeah.
Change all around. So today we're talking about marriage mistakes that we could possibly make that may possibly hurt the kids later on down the line. So, if I had to think of a marriage mistake, the main mistake is, I know some of these people that's wrapped up into their kids may disagree, but not making time for your marriage. How could that hurt the kids is what you're saying, right? Because you're going to become too wrapped up in your kids or kid. And at some point, that child is going to need space, like to grow and to be a kid and to be with their friends and significant others later on in life. So, if you don't make time for your marriage, you're showing the kids like how to be a part of a relationship and how not to. So if you're demonstrating to your kids that your marriage isn't that important, your marriage can wait. Your marriage can wait to after this and wait to after that, and you're not making your marriage a priority, then more than likely than not, they may mimic that behavior in their relationships later on in life or even in their marriage. And that can hurt them down the line.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a mistake could be continuing the traditionalism in the blended family situation, like continuing the traditionalism and not having like a fluid type mindset in the family. Because like, okay, in our situation, if I would have kept the traditions that I'm used to with the boys and not felt like I need to make some adjustments, like this is what we do and this is how we always done it. Like that can be a mistake for the marriage itself, to say like I'm gonna do it this way because we always did it this way.
Yeah.
Or even in someone who's not blended, like because you married and you like, well, I do it, like somebody got to get with you and your schedule and your stuff and the way you've always done it. Like if you don't have no type of wiggle room and like I'm merging my life, it's not somebody like you grabbing a bag off the shelf. Like that's not how it's gonna work.
I was watching Married at First Sight the other day, and that one lady like really worked my nerves because she just kept saying about what she always. Well, honey, this is why you is single and why you was on this Married at First Sight trying to just get anybody, because you obviously is just sticking with your program. Like, come on, I feel so bad. I forget. I think her name is Marla or Mirla. But I feel so bad for the guy they didn't pair her up with, because it's like, I don't know. It just seems like she's just not willing to budge on anything. Like she barely want to give him a kiss. Like, you don't usually get married at first sight, girl. So with that being said, I agree with you 1,000%. Like, yeah, you have to be willing to mesh, like willing to blend, willing to make some changes. I know initially when we got married, I was used to certain things with my family as far as Christmas and this and that, but I quickly found out, like, what if, we didn't really have such a pullback, but what if my husband's family was just as family oriented as mine, to the point where with all these, different cookouts and different things, like I can't just say every single Christmas is going to be at my family house. I would have to budge. I would have to, compromise. I would have to compromise with him, and we would have to say, okay, because all the time we're not going to run and duck goose everybody's house. Like, we're going to have to choose sometimes, and sometimes somebody may be out of town. Right. So, yeah, I agree with that 1,000%.
Yeah. And I think, the people get this compromise, like it's like that submission word, like, oh, submission, like, oh, compromise, like compromise, you compromising on so much every single day. Like today I was at Dunkin' Donuts and they didn't have the whipped cream for my coffee that I wanted. So I had to compromise, which I didn't have to, but I had to compromise and say, do I want it or I don't want to leave without having it? So you're constantly doing that each and every day. Like, okay, look, I can't have this way, so I'm gonna have to, okay, you can give it to me without it. Like, I'm okay without it. And some people be so stuck in like, oh, this is what I'm gonna do and this is how I'm gonna do it, that you make it kind of hard. Because I always say, like, if you don't move or if you don't have a wiggle room in this area, down the line there's gonna be an area that your spouse don't want to move on. And then that's going to be a hard pill to swallow, to feel like, man, I really feel this way. I really don't like this, or I really want to implement this, or I really want to try this. And you're so headstrong and stubborn that you don't want to do it.
Right.
Well, have you ever displayed that to your spouse? Have you ever displayed to your spouse that I'm going to be unmovable in this situation? I'm not going to be like fluid, or I'm not going to be try to make any adjustments or compromise. Like, have you ever displayed that? So now you upset that your spouse don't want to move in the situation, but have you ever displayed that unmovable type trait?
And that's interesting because when I'm thinking about it, I don't really know. Like, it's been areas where I may have wanted to do something one way or another, but I don't know. I think we end up coming to a happy medium, even if it's not in that exact moment. I mean, can you tell me if it's a situation in which I was immovable?
I'm sure it was an unmovable situation.
What?
But I think that the situation wasn't a detriment or it was a hindrance in our family dynamic. Like, I don't think the situation. I think it was maybe minute. Like, I can't think of right now off the top of my head, but I think it'll be minute. Like some things can be unmovable, but they have a reasoning by it. Right? So when we first got together, like I lived in a space.
I that was immovable, yeah.
Where I lived in a place where I lived in a neighborhood where it may not been the best for learning for the children, right? Like, we can live there because we adults, but for the growth in education wise, and that wasn't something that I cared about. But in her light, like, they don't have enough meat in this school system to really give our children the best. Like, they'll be behind in this school district area. And for her to be unmovable in that, it made sense. Like, no, we can't stay here.
But it was for a good reason.
But not because it's unsafe. It's because this district don't have the meat and potatoes of the educational system that we need.
Education is very important
for our children to flourish. So that's an unmovable situation that is a benefit to the children. So if it's unmovable but it makes sense, like, it makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. If it's unmovable but it makes sense, then that should be also fine. So I agree with that. I think in that same sentence is when you were talking about compromise, well, that leads into what you was kind of talking about on the live that we were on last weekend, when you said about disagreements in front of the kids.
Oh yeah.
And how it's necessary. It's necessary. I mean, I know a couple or two that feel like not in front of the kids. Now, I do feel like some things may be inappropriate in front of a child. And so therefore, I don't want to have certain conversations in front of children for obvious reasons. But children can see you not wanting to eat the same dinner or didn't want to whatever it was, didn't want to go bike riding at the same time. Kids can see that. And they can also see how you resolve that issue about whether you compromise or not. Or they can also see how you disagree and then how you reconcile. And that's necessary because in all relationships, you're going to have in all relationships, you're going to go through situations in which you may not always agree. Right. And so then your children have to see you model that behavior so then they can learn that behavior, learn that behavior of forgiveness. Yeah. Love that behavior of reconciliation. Learn that behavior of compromise. Yeah. It's necessary.
Yeah, but because when I said on that live with the couple that I didn't necessarily see conflict resolution growing up because I grew up with a single parent, so there wasn't a man in the house for my mother to show me this is how you disagree. And then you able to recover, bounce back, or, reconcile in that situation. It's just one person. And what she say, go, right? Yeah. But how do I deal with conflict resolution if I don't have a father, a man in the house where my mother and father are quarreling? I don't get to see that. So now I go out, young man or young woman, go out and have no clue how to deal with conflict. And you see when that when it arises. So now you're period. So now you're seeing a lot of young women. Now you're seeing a lot of adult women and men that are running rampant in the streets now because they have never seen, like, this is a small situation and you don't blow up in this. Like, chill, like, relax, let the rough side drag, be let the water fall off a duck's back. like relax, because you've been in a situation where you've been parented by a single mother and she is either stressed or she's had a lot of, a power struggle. She want to make sure her men or her young daughter is, she keep her tight knit. So she see that she only see one, but there's no conflict resolution. So now my wife and I, there are some situations in some instances where we do show the children that side where we may disagree, or not necessarily argue, but disagree in front of the kids, and they can see like, oh, okay.
Yeah, you can disagree.
Yes.
And they can see you, like you said, compromise, reconcile, talk it out. What if we had a disagreement while out and about? Then on the ride home, we talk about it, to see what the resolution might be. So yeah, I think that's good too.
Yeah.
It's necessary. These are things that, for those that I just see, just got on.
Skill.
We're talking about how children, some things that we display in our marriage, some things that we're doing in our marriage that might harm our children or hurt them later on in life. And we were just saying like how if you don't have disagreements or let your children see you agree, disagree, reconcile, or what have you, then how will they learn this skill? Where are they supposed to pick it up from? I mean, surely they can learn some things while they're at, out in public and at school and different places. But home is supposed to be the first classroom.
Yeah.
Seriously. Like, your child should be learning things from home. Like, you not wait on the teacher to teach them conflict resolution, or a lot of things, life skills, things that's a life skill, because you utilize that in jobs, you utilize it in groups, in clubs, in sororities, fraternities. You use skills like this in all areas of life, and so it's necessary. And if you don't teach these things or model these behaviors, then your children could be hindered in the future.
Oh, absolutely.
So that was one. And what was the first one?
My mind drawing a blank. But even that, like we have conversations about our dynamic and our co-parenting dynamic. Now, we don't necessarily talk so bad about the opposite parent, but we have to show contrast.
You have to just tell the truth too.
You have to show contrast. And there was something that you always say. It's reality therapy.
It is. It's a such thing. Google it. It is a such thing as reality therapy, and it's absolutely necessary. Let me give you an example. So when Maya was little, I dreaded her being in ballet for this one reason. They used to always have the father-daughter dance, and it's everybody knows. And Maya may not have had that availability of a male figure in her life to participate in that capacity. Because even if her dad was around, he may not have wanted to go to all these practices and things. So I was praying like, oh, I hope her class ain't the one to do it this time. You never know until it's recital time, whether or not they're going to do the father-daughter dance. Praise God, he protected me, because never did her classes ever do the father-daughter dance. But with that being said, situations like that are things in which you have to, like, I would have had to have a conversation with him, and she may have seen us come to an agreement, a disagreement, or anything. So these are also situations in which we model behavior on how we're going to deal with something. Now, if she just seen me going all off, then that's one thing. But, it's several situations that arise. And so with this reality therapy, you got to be real with yourself. She was in counseling at that time, and I was ready. Like, I was talking to the counselor, like, we're going to find out next week what the recital was about. And it's stressing me out, because what if her class is the one doing the father-daughter dance? I'm going to tell her, her dad had to work and this and that. And boom, the counselor was like, no, don't do that. That's the worst thing you could do. Stop making excuses. Give her the real.
Yeah.
And then she has to cope with what is. Because if you keep on making these excuses, you know, and you couldn't make it, daddy couldn't make it, do that, or what have you, then you're going to have to continuously do that, you know, and then daddy and donuts day. I was hoping her class never did that, and praise God, never did. So those are two situations that you don't think of until you in that situation. That, you know, your child may feel away, but nevertheless they have to have that reality, because if you make all of these excuses, then you're actually turning that person into someone they're not. You're turning them into a workaholic or somebody that couldn't make it because of a valid reason. No, they have to know the reality of it is that didn't come. You called dad and asked him why he didn't make it.
Just like I've been a co-parent for a long time, and one of the things that we implemented was, because of the toxicity of the situation, we had to meet at a police station, and we still do to this day. And the reason being is I talk to my fellas, and this is, you know, even in our book where we talk about meeting in a mutual spot, but sometimes the mutual spot may be in a place where you like everybody isn't cooperative, everybody isn't agreeable, everybody isn't sensible when it comes to you got to think it's people's children and the children between each other, right? So everybody is agreeable. So one of the places that we meet is a police station. So you got to think the child sees that we at a police station every week to exchange him between me and his mother or what have you. So I had to explain this, like, we do this because of X, Y, and Z.
A shame, but reality.
And it's bad, but it's the reality. It's the reality of it. It's a shame, but it's a reality.
It's a reality.
And some people have to be, and that's a boundary. That's a level of boundary. I'm not willing to forsake or discard my peace for the possibility of a thing.
Yeah.
So, and that's something that somebody need to implement, and then we don't do the whole meet at the house and, you know, disrupt the neighborhoods and stuff like that. So we have to keep our boundaries. It's the same way in our marriage. Like before, there was a time where my wife became the mediator in between, or I became the mediator between her and her father, her daughter's father, and my children. That's boundaries. I don't want you to get emotional with my wife. Same with her. If you can't handle my husband, then you can go through me, because in her life as a wife, like, you're not gonna talk, or you're not going to get my husband riled up in the area.
Absolutely not. Yeah, that was toxic.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, I hope the people understand. But yeah, basically what he's saying is there were times in which the conversations with the alternative parent would go so left that once he hang up the phone, the atmosphere,
right,
you know, then stirred up this foolishness in my atmosphere. Then it take him a while to digress. You know what I'm saying? And so I was like, I'm going to be in the middle. Because, see, when y'all on the phone, just end up bad, and let me just be in the middle. But then I had to get out the middle because it was just too much foolishness going on. But the point is that you have to have conflict resolution. And if you don't, then you have to set up boundaries that will not allow the lack of conflict resolution to disturb your peace.
Absolutely.
And to disturb your mental, your spirit, your emotions, you know, all of that. So if there is a lack of conflict resolution skills, or, you know, communication skills, then you have to figure out different ways to set up your boundaries so that you're not disturbed in any way. And so you have to do whatever it takes. And with that reality therapy of that, because the children are there.
Right.
The children are right there. They see you pulling up to a police station every week. People don't usually do this. They usually drop the kids off at the parent house. What's up? And so you do have to have those real conversations when your children are appropriately aged for the conversation. You do. You have to let them know. I mean, there's been many times I just used to be straight up like, Maya, no, I'm not going, but you can go, you know, and the kids don't always understand. And you can give them real examples. And that doesn't mean you're demeaning the other parent because you're explaining like, oh, remember this had happened? And that's the reason why, so that's it. We just was going over things that can affect your children that you're doing in your marriage.
Right.
Or not doing.
Right. And it was some of the mistakes that we saw early on that we had to fix. And one of the ones was creating those boundaries earlier, because when we see that, we've been doing it, it's been working thus far, and no, for my wife, she's like, no, this portion ain't gonna work for our dynamic because this disturbs me in this area. So I'm like, I've been doing it fine this way. Well, in this marriage, this won't work. So we're gonna have to put in some documentation, some paperwork, and some boundaries, and some several arm's length to make sure that our peace and our family is not disturbed.
Because it's just facts. I mean, even if you I'm not sure if y'all follow her or not, but the VIP stepmom, she was just talking about that recently about, just these boundaries and the things that you have to do. And there are several things that we had to do because we can't allow the alternative parent to control our household.
Absolutely.
And they're not going to control our thermostat up in our house, or how this, the tension and, just your peace in your household. So sometimes you have to make decisions, and in those decisions, everybody may not be happy with them, but when you set boundaries, they're to protect you. They're to protect you and your peace. So even though the people outside the gate, the people outside the boundary, right, they may not be okay with it, and it's okay because you're going to have peace in your area.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Well, look, we thank you guys for another episode of the Family Dynamics. Listen, if this helped you, if this was insightful for you, hey, share this with somebody else.
Yeah.
Put down in the comments if you have not subscribed to our YouTube page, if you have not subscribed to our Apple, Google, or Spotify, Instagram. Look, what are you waiting for?
Follow the Family Dynamics.
Go follow the Family Dynamics. Look, we want to continue more conversations, more candid conversations, more real conversations about blended family, co-parenting, and marriage.
And the real, because we all need this type of conversation. And I want to see y'all in the comments. Say something, even if you're watching this and it's a playback, whatever.
If and those on the replay, man, look. Please.
Hello, Miss Keston. Thank you.
Please.
She says this was good.
Yeah.
Thank you, girl, because this is what it's about. We're gonna have the Castons on here too. They're another co-parenting couple that can share some of their experiences too, as to how they're coping with different situations when you're coming together as a blended family. So this is where we are today with it. And I just want you guys to comment, like, subscribe, and then keep the conversation going. Share it with someone. Talk about it with your spouse. Go watch it together again with your spouse and talk about some of these issues and how you guys might benefit from some of these tips that we gave. And then you can also put in a comment a tip on how you're blending with different situations in your co-parenting blended family.
Or you know what, just even tell us even more than that, what adjustments that you guys made in your co-parenting life, because this isn't pretty, but it can be. Like we're at a space early on to where we made sure that we were first and the children, and this sounds crazy, second. We first.
But that's in the order of God anyway.
Unite in front first. Then the kids, because they're going to reap all of the benefits. They're going to reap all of the benefits of you setting up a united front between you two. That's the only way this co-parent blended family dynamic work. Case in point, the Family Dynamics. So
all right.
We thank you guys for another executed episode.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Family Dynamics Podcast with Kevin and Alicia Meeks.
Thank you, guys.
Please like, subscribe, and comment. And don't forget to follow us on social media at the Family Dynamics.
We'll see y'all in a minute.
Bye.